A sitting federal judge collapsed in open court in Abuja, and behind that collapse, a corruption probe that has been quietly consuming him for months. Welcome to Afrisight Forum. I am your host, and today we are breaking down one of the most dramatic judicial incidents to come out of Abuja in recent times. Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court collapsed on the bench on May 23, 2026, while actively presiding over court session. He was rushed to the Federal Medical Center in Abuja, where he was admitted and placed under intensive care. He was 59 years old at the time of the incident. And as we will show you today, the story of what happened in that courtroom is only part of a much larger picture. Because in the months leading up to that morning, Justice Omotosho had been carrying a weight that very few people outside the judiciary fully understood. A corruption investigation by the ICPC, a relentless caseload, and the slow accumulation of institutional pressure that, by all indications, never let up right until the moment he slumped forward in his chair. Let us go back to the morning of May 23rd. The collapse in Courtroom 5. Justice Omotosho entered Courtroom 5 of the Abuja Division of the Federal High Court that morning, as he had done countless times before. Proceedings commenced at 9:30 a.m. in line with the standard court calendar. He had a full docket scheduled for the day, as was typical for judges sitting in the Abuja jurisdiction. Multiple matters were listed for hearing. He had shown no outward signs of distress. There were no prior adjournments recorded, no entries in the court records indicating any health concerns for that morning. To everyone present, it was a routine day of judicial business in one of Nigeria's busiest court divisions. At approximately 11:15 a.m., while the court was in active session on a matter involving federal commercial regulations, and while counsel was making procedural submissions before him, Justice Omotosho slumped forward in his seat. Lawyers, court bailiffs, litigants, and support staff who were present in the courtroom witnessed the moment it happened. The room came to an immediate standstill. Court security personnel moved quickly to clear the area around the bench to allow medical access. Bailiffs and on-site medical personnel attached to the court premises rushed in and administered first aid on the spot. An ambulance was summoned from the Federal Medical Center in Abuja. It arrived within 12 minutes. Justice Omotosho was placed in the ambulance and transporting to the hospital's emergency unit under escorted conditions. The journey to the Federal Medical Center took approximately 18 minutes. Behind him, the courtroom was adjourned immediately, with announcements made to all parties present. Court registrars documented the exact time and full sequence of events in the official court minutes. The Federal High Court Administration issued an internal notice adjourning all matters assigned to Justice Omotosho for the remainder of the day, consistent with standard practice for judicial health emergencies. The daily court register reflected the precise point at which proceedings had halted, with notations on exhibits and records already tendered in the interrupted session. Arrival at the Federal Medical Center. Upon arrival at the Federal Medical Center in Abuja, hospital intake procedures recorded his vital signs as unstable. Intake forms noted elevated blood pressure, irregular heart rhythms, and clear indications of cardiac-related symptoms. Doctors conducted immediate assessments, including blood pressure measurement, pulse monitoring, and basic electrocardiogram testing. Emergency protocols for suspected cardiac events were activated without delay. Justice Omotosho was moved directly to the intensive care unit for stabilization. Hospital staff administered intravenous medications and oxygen support as part of the standard cardiac emergency response. Diagnostic steps conducted in the early hours of admission included laboratory tests for cardiac enzymes and imaging scans to evaluate heart function. Those imaging results revealed underlying coronary artery conditions that required immediate specialist attention. Monitoring equipment tracked his vital signs continuously, with periodic readings of heart rate, blood oxygen levels, and blood pressure recorded at set intervals throughout the admission period. Medical teams from the cardiology department consulted on adjustments to his treatment plan based on real-time data. He received anticoagulant therapy and cardiac rhythm management in line with Nigerian emergency care guidelines. The Federal Medical Center, operating as a tertiary facility in Abuja, was equipped for precisely this kind of emergency. Specialists remained involved in his care throughout the hours following admission. Justice Omotosho remained in the intensive care unit under continuous observation, with hospital staff and family members who had been notified maintaining contact through authorized channels. Updates on his condition were communicated internally within the hospital system. No public health disclosure had been made regarding Justice Omotosho prior to this incident. Family contacts and judicial administration details were provided during the hospital registration process. The intensive care unit at the Federal Medical Center features monitoring equipment for continuous observation of patients presenting with acute cardiac symptoms, and Justice Omotosho remained connected to such systems following his admission. The ICPC probe that shadowed his final months on the bench. What makes this story far more significant than a straightforward medical emergency is what had been unfolding quietly in the background for months before that morning in Courtroom 5. Justice Omotosho had been under active investigation by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, the ICPC, concerning allegations of abuse of office and bribery. The probe centered on his handling of specific judicial matters during his tenure at the Federal High Court in Abuja. The ICPC initiated the process based on complaints and petitions received regarding certain rulings and decisions where allegations of external influence had been raised by parties involved in those proceedings. The Commission reviewed court records, financial declarations, and communications linked to the cases under scrutiny. ICPC officials examined rulings delivered by Justice Omotosho between 2018 and 2025, spanning contract disputes, political party matters, and regulatory enforcement cases where favoritism was alleged. Bank statements, asset declarations filed under Code of Conduct Bureau requirements, and witness accounts from lawyers and litigants who appeared before him were all part of the evidence gathered by the Commission. Justice Omotosho received formal notifications from the ICPC and responded through his legal representatives, categorically denying any involvement in corrupt practices. He argued that the allegations originated from parties who lost cases before him and lacked any factual foundation. He submitted detailed written statements, provided explanations for specific orders issued in high-value commercial cases and election-related petitions, and attended clarification meetings with the Commission, all while continuing to preside over his regular court sittings without interruption to his judicial duties. The dual demands created a compounding burden on him. Court records show he handled between 15 and 20 matters per week during the period the probe was active. Simultaneously, the ICPC was requesting travel records, meeting logs, details of his interactions with counsel in sensitive cases, and periodic submissions addressing each new line of inquiry. He filed formal objections with the Commission, arguing that certain aspects of the investigation infringed on judicial independence principles protected under Section 84 of the 1999 Constitution. He engaged external counsel to manage correspondence and compile comprehensive defenses drawing on precedent cases where similar allegations against judges had been dismissed for lack of merit. Property acquisitions declared since his appointment in 2015 were analyzed and compared against his salary history as a federal judicial officer. He provided documentation tracing the legitimate sources of all listed assets, including family inheritances and prior private practice earnings before joining the bench. The ICPC cross-checked these claims with relevant government agencies. By early 2026, the investigation had progressed to the review stage, with preliminary findings circulated internally within the Commission. Justice Omotosho submitted final rebuttals addressing each allegation point by point, detailing timelines of case assignments and decision-making processes to demonstrate the absence of external influence in his rulings. No arrests were made throughout the entire process. The ICPC operates under protocols that limit direct action against serving judicial officers, meaning the probe remained focused on fact-finding and the compilation of reports for potential referral to appropriate authorities. No conclusions had been finalized or publicly released. At the time, Justice Omotosho collapsed in Courtroom 5 on the morning of May 23, 2026. That investigation was still active and unresolved. What this moment means. Justice James Omotosho was appointed to the Federal High Court bench in February 2015 by former President Goodluck Jonathan. He has served in the Abuja division for over a decade, handling federal cases spanning commercial disputes, national security matters, and constitutional issues. He maintained a full judicial schedule right up to the morning of his collapse, attending judicial conferences, participating in training programs organized by the National Judicial Institute, and continuing mentorship engagements for younger judges, all while managing the sustained pressure of an active ICPC investigation running in the background of his professional life. The questions this incident raises are serious ones. What does the simultaneous pressure of a full judicial caseload and an active corruption probe do to a person over time? What institutional support mechanisms exist within the Nigerian judiciary for judges navigating this kind of dual burden? And as Justice Omotosho remains in the care of specialists at the Federal Medical Center, what happens next with the ICPC investigation that has been hanging over his tenure? As of this broadcast, on June 1, 2026, no public statement has been issued by the ICPC regarding the status of that probe. The Federal High Court has made no public pronouncement on the rescheduling of his pending docket. Those matters remain open. What is clear is this. Justice James Omotosho walked into Courtroom 5 on the morning of May 23, 2026, carrying the full weight of his assignment. He did not walk out under his own strength, and Nigeria's judiciary is now watching closely to see what comes next. This is Afrisight Forum. Stay informed, stay engaged. If this video added value to your understanding, please share it, leave a comment below, and subscribe if you have not already done so.